Hello, welcome to Business Reporter's Financial Services and Banking campaign. I'm Ashley Blake. How can landlords find reliable tenants and protect their financial interests? How can tenants live in financial security? How can American citizens build an impressive credit score and achieve the American dream, home ownership? Today, most renters live from paycheck to paycheck. The slightest pressure on their monthly cash flow results in their failure to pay their rent. Some of them risk eviction. At the same time, landlords fear that their rental incomes may become unpredictable, which could lead to late mortgage payments, diminishing credit scores, and potentially even repossession of their property. The rental market needs radical change. So what can property owners do to receive their rents on time? We're talking to Karthik Manimosi, CEO and founder of Letus, formerly Rentmoola. Now, after 20 years in technology development, Karthik believes that financial technology can bring about a breakthrough in the rental sector. Karthik, welcome to Business Reporter's Financial Services and Banking campaign. Let's start by getting some insight into the state of the US rental market at the moment. Explain the market challenges. What are landlords and tenants facing?
Current state with the rent-burdened tenants and the landlord's inability to collect on time is actively destabilizing the market and making it unsustainable. It's no secret that the rents have grown disproportionate to actual growth in income for many households in the US. So much so that 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. This also includes people who earn six-figure annual salary. As a result of being rent burdened, many families require 2 paychecks in a single month to be able to stay on top of paying the rent at the beginning of the month. This is putting extraordinary strain on many of the renter families and households. So they are managing this in a very difficult way, incurring very high credit card fees, borrowing at high interest, dipping into savings, signing up for expensive insurance products, or in some cases taking paycheck reduction products.
You're describing a dire situation. Well-trained professionals with 6-digit salaries and families with 2 paychecks struggling to stay on top of the monthly expenses. What's the impact of these challenges on the individuals?
This is putting heavy strain on the tenants on one side. On the other hand, despite conventional wisdom and belief, many landlords in the US are not large institutions and REITs, they are mom and pop. 37% of landlords have actually reported double-digit decline in on-time rent collections and hence a decline in revenue generated from their rental properties. If you consider that 95% of the collected rent goes towards mortgage and other expenses, there is an extraordinary strain. This is increasing the possibility of the landlords not able to sustain their rental properties because of things like foreclosure, not just of the rental property, but also of their primary assets.
Earlier, we mentioned that home ownership is the American dream. Under these financial circumstances, what's happening to this dream?
The current state is robbing young Americans of their opportunity to build sustainable wealth and is increasing the risk of landlords losing their homes to foreclosure. According to a national survey, 1 out of 2 current renter households believe that the home ownership, the ultimate American dream, is unattainable. The cost of sustaining on-time, ever-increasing rent payments with high down payment, low credit scores, as well as increasing housing cost is keeping many of these Americans out of the housing market.
And what's the general impact on society for landlords?
Now consider the example of Mrs. and Mr. Smith. They are a couple working as teachers all their life, and they have saved up to buy a rental home instead of speculating in the stock market, because traditionally that's how their families, their parents have built wealth. So by building this rental property, they're hoping to get monthly cash flow, but also create an asset for their children. Now, the increasing difficulty for Mrs. and Mr. Smith to collect their rent at the beginning of the month, and owing to the protections which are rightly there, they cannot really evict their tenant. They are in a serious crisis mode. So they can't collect the rent, they cannot evict their tenant, they cannot sell the home with a tenant in it. So ultimately, they are at risk of losing their primary home to foreclosure. This is a very sad state of affairs for many of the middle-class families here in the US.
You say the rental market is unstable and unsustainable. Can you quantify this problem? How much money is impacted across the US market?
The rent is a large, predictable, and non-cyclical market there is in the US. 1 out of 3 households in the US are renters, paying close to $500 billion in rent every year. If you look at the landlords, despite the conventional wisdom, only a percentage of all landlords are REITs, large corporates, mid-cap, large cap. A majority of the landlords, over 22 million rental units, are owned by mom and pop families.